Here's why Google Sheets is costing you time, money, and leads, and what to use instead. I'm Kronda Adair, and in the past 6 months, we've saved our clients up to 15 hours a week by using Airtable to automate key processes like new client applications and onboarding. In this video, I'm going to show you the most common mistakes that people make with Google Sheets and 5 ways that Airtable blows even the most organized Google Sheet out of the water. Let's get into it. All right, the first of the most common Google mistakes is also the most obvious, which is highlighter hell. People use colors and highlight rows to denote different categories of things instead of making them an actual category. And it makes things confusing to look at. You can't actually use it to sort because it's just colors. It's very manual to keep up, and it's just hard to look at. So this is why people end up doing things like creating new tabs to categorize information and then manually copying information back and forth, which is just highly inefficient. The second common mistake is data dumping. This is when you combine a bunch of different information into one field. So a prime example of this would be contact name and title in the same field instead of having them separated as first name, last name, and title. And I'll show you why that's important in a little bit. You can see another example of this in this field, which is asking for business website and all their social media handles in one field, and that's just going to be a data nightmare on the back end. You're not going to be able to actually see this data in ways that are meaningful and helpful to you as you manage your business. The next common mistake is the header row. I see this all the time where instead of making categories, people will take one row and make it into a header to denote things like timelines or different sections of things. And there are so many problems with this, not the least of which is that if somebody comes and sorts your spreadsheet by anything else, then these are going to become meaningless instantly, and it's going to be hard to put back. This happens a lot with people who treat their spreadsheet as a document instead of an actual spreadsheet and really respect how you put the data in there so that you can manipulate the data. Speaking of data, our last and final common mistake is faulty formatting. So this means not really paying attention to how you're actually putting data in and how the data is being classified. For instance, this timestamp, these all have times in them, but if this field is something like a single text field, then the spreadsheet is not actually treating that as a date, and you can't do date-based sorts of calculations with your information. You can also see this with things like number fields that are actually drop-downs. So here we have a question about how many kids do you have? And the potential answers are 1, 2, 3, and then more than 3. And more than 3 is not a number. And since more than 3 is a text field and not a number, then you're not going to be able to do any sort of number calculations with your data on the back end. So it's really important to consider how you're taking in data, what form that data needs to take, and then create your form accordingly. Now let's look at 5 ways that Airtable can help you improve your data management and give you so much more peace and better information on the back end. The first thing is just having better control over how your data is actually structured. If you look at all the types of fields, if I go and edit this field, we can see that there are all types of ways that you can take in information. So you have single line text, long text for when you want to just let people type away. You've got attachments if you want people to be able to upload files or photos, checkboxes, select fields, phone numbers, dates. When you structure your data before you actually create the form, it means that the form is going to enforce how you want to receive that data. If it needs to be a number, then you're going to use a number field, and they're only going to be able to put numbers in that field. So the first thing is Airtable lets you actually structure your data the way it needs to be structured in order for you to use it effectively. The second thing is formulas. If you have struggled with formulas in Google Sheets or Excel, Airtable formulas are so much easier to use and so much more intuitive. Many of the basic formulas are super easy to learn. So for instance, this summary field, this is the key field that has to be unique. And so I've decided to just combine the first and the last name. So we've separated first and last name. I said I'd talk about that in a bit. But if we want to see the full name, now we can just use a formula. So if we edit this, you'll see that I've chosen a formula field, and this just says, hey, take this first name field, add a space, and then show the last name field. And so now that's automatically going to populate as soon as there's a first and a last name field. So formulas in Airtable, super powerful, a lot easier to master than Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets. Now, I talked about the integrity of data a little earlier, and so you'll see in this version, we've separated the email address. Instead of having business and all social media, we can actually just hide that field. And now we have a website field, and then for each social media we want, we can have a specific field for LinkedIn, for Instagram, for Threads, whatever you want to collect. And it forces you to think about what do you want to collect and then be specific when you're asking people for that information. One of the best things about Airtable when it comes to data management is the way that you can slice and dice and see your data any way that you want to. So for instance, if we want to hide certain fields and we only want to see certain things, we can instantly hide everything and we can just then show whatever we want to show. Now, back in the spreadsheet, when we had the highlighter hell, that was an attempt to actually categorize. So before I port the information, I actually add this as a column, and now we can just group or filter this any way we want. So let's say we want to group by color. Now those are instantly grouped together. Let's say we want to filter and have a view where we only see the red. We can filter and we can say only show where the color is red. And then you could show more than one. You could say is any of, and you could say, I just want to see red and green. And you could group those by color as well. So you have so much flexibility for how you view your data. And this isn't even the good part. We haven't even touched on interfaces. Even just this is so much better than Google Sheets, but it's going to get even better. The next awesome feature of Airtable is Forms, which I have open in this other tab. You can see it right here. And when I click over, you can create as many forms as you like, and then you're going to build your form based on the fields that already exist. You can have multiple forms here. We can click on this form to edit, and now you can just drag and add any of the fields that you want into your form. You can remove fields. Let's say you wanted to take this field out for whatever reason, and it's really simple to add them back. And you can move them around. Let's say you wanted to have first and last name on the same line. You have lots of flexibility with your form here, and then you can share that form. You can embed it in your website. But when people fill out that form, it's going to go directly into your database. So you don't have these two separate documents that you have to deal with. It's all in one place. The next awesome feature of Airtable is automations. You can do so many powerful automations right inside of Airtable without the need for a third-party tool like Zapier or Make, although you can also combine with those other tools, but you can do so much right here in Airtable. So one of the most obvious is when somebody submits your form, you want to acknowledge and confirm that you've received that and let them know what the next step is. So this is a simple automation that says when this form is submitted, we're going to send this email. And so you can come in here and you choose your table, you choose your form, and then there's all sorts of things that you can do in response to when that form is submitted. This is just using the native Airtable, but if you're using Outlook or Gmail for your email, you can actually connect your account here. You can connect Teams, Gmail, Google Calendar, Slack, Outlook email. So you can connect your account, and that means you can send emails that come from your email address, just the same as if you went and logged into your Gmail. Now, I mentioned several times earlier the importance of separating your first and your last name, and this is why. All of your data is available to you to use in this email as variables. So if you are combining first and last name when you're collecting that information in the form, that means you don't have the first name available to use as a variable in these emails to send a confirmation email. So then your email would be, hi, Kronda Adair, which is just weird. So that is why you always separate first and last name, whichever kind of form you're using, whatever you're going to do on the back end with it. If you are going to use that data to communicate with people, then you need to have that information separate. These are just some of the things that you can do inside of automations. You can create and update records, find records, run custom scripts if you want to, send Slack notifications. There's so much stuff you can do inside of automations. And you can also do things like conditional logic, and you can repeat actions for a whole list of records. Now, I showed you ways that you could slice and dice your data earlier using views, but now we're going to look at interfaces, which I think is the best thing to happen to Airtable in the last number of years. Interfaces is where the real magic of Airtable shines through because it's powered by your data on the back end, but you can look at that data any way you want. So I often have clients who are managing things like an application process, or they're using Airtable as their CRM. So here we see that same data and we see those same colors, but now we can look at this list. We can look at every record, or we can say, oh, I only want to see the green records, or I only want to see the purple records or the red. And then if you want to look into the detail of that record, then you can open it up and you can see just everything that you want to see about that record. And you can build out this profile page to show whatever you want to show. So if we click edit and we go into this page and we want to add more fields, we've got things grouped. We've got the business info, the social media, and then we've got this follow-up area, which I'll talk about in a second. But if you wanted to add more information so you could see more things, then you would just add that here. We had a client who was trying to manage all their client data in Google Sheets. They were copying data back and forth from one tab to another. And what they wanted more than anything was just to be able to take the information in, have it be in one place, and be able to see a profile of their clients so that they could see everything in one place and who had moved through their ecosystem, who they had worked with, who they had yet to work with. And so we built an interface very similar to this where they can see their client profile data in one place. Now, if you're trying to use Google Sheets as a CRM, or you have clients, or you're doing anything where you want to follow up with people via email, that's where you can combine interfaces and automations to be able to do this right inside of Airtable. If you want to be able to edit these things while you're viewing them, then you just come over here and you click editable on any of the fields that you want to be able to edit. So let's say you're looking at this contact and you want to be able to follow up with this contact, but you don't want to context switch and go over into your email platform because who knows how distracted you're going to get over there. We've built in the functionality here where you can actually send a follow-up, and that's by combining the power of interfaces and the power of automations. So that means you can write your subject line here, and you can actually create your email message and then click a button and send an email. And then over on the automations, there's a simple automation that says when this button is clicked, send the email, use the email address from that record and use the subject line from that subject field, and then send the message that's in the message field. That's a really simple automation that could change the way that you interact and manage your data, especially if you're trying to use Google Sheets as a CRM. Now, there are all types of interfaces that you can create inside of Airtable. The last one I'll show you is the dashboard. And this is really where the magic happens when you want to actually make sense of your data and you want to use your data to make decisions going forward in your business. So you can create dashboards based on any of the data that you have. So here we're showing the applications, the number of applications that come in, and let's say that color field was a status. You could see how many applications are in each status. And let's say you wanted to track how many applications are coming in by date. Here we have a view showing applications by date, looking at it by month, but you could just as easily view it by day or by week. And then remember that how many kids do you have? We couldn't make a chart based on 1, 2, 3, and more than 3, but if we have numbers, now we can have percentages and we can look at the numbers of, if we want to know of the moms that we're serving, what's the percentage of people who have 1, 2, 3, or 4 kids? Now we can easily see that data. I hope you're able to see how much more powerful Airtable is and how many options it gives you when it comes to managing your data and managing your business processes. Google Sheets is a calculator, Airtable is a command center. If you're excited about the possibilities of Airtable and you want to learn more, check out my playlist on systemizing your business with Airtable and check the links below for information about my Automation Club community where I can help you learn the basics of Airtable. And if you want me to transform your Google Sheets into a beautiful Airtable system, reach out and ask about Power Hour or a VIP day. I'll see you in the next video.